Welcome to the Coffee with Cheryl podcast, the podcast for women over 50 who want to live their best life right now. Imagine having the courage to reinvent your life financially, professionally, personally, and spiritually. Join Cheryl and guests as they share practical tips and resources to inspire you to achieve the lifestyle of your dreams. So grab your favorite mug. It's time for Coffee with Cheryl.
Welcome to the Coffee with Cheryl podcast, a podcast for women over 50 who want to live their best life right now. I am your host, Cheryl Garrison. I am a publisher, an author, a speaker, a coach. I am passionate about everything that has to do with women over 50. And the Coffee with Cheryl podcast is part of the 50-something lifestyle community of women who come together on Facebook, and we come together at lunches and all over the country together talking about things that are important to women over 50. Today, I am so excited to have with me Karol Brown. She is the owner of Brown Tone Productions, which you'll get to know more about what she does. She is an advocate for women and girls in helping to teach us to love ourselves, self-love. And she does that through very unique portrayals of Harriet Tubman, and she will tell you all about that after we go through our quote for today. And I'm so happy to have her, and you will meet her in just a few seconds. Today, as always, I want to start with the quote. And our quote for today is, "Be faithful to that which exists within yourself." Be faithful to that which exists within yourself. And since we're talking about self-love today, I thought that was the perfect quote to start the show. Welcome, Karol, to the Coffee with Cheryl podcast. So happy that you joined us today. And I'd like you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm excited to be in front of this audience, knowing that I'm talking to women who are my sisters in understanding what life is like over 50. I'm actually 71, so over 50 is still young. Still young.
Yes, it is. And for 71, I would never have guessed that.
But
I
thank you.
love it. I love it. Go ahead.
So I live in Washington State, Puyallup, Washington, which is about 35 miles south of Seattle. So I just say Seattle. I have been here my home is in Dayton, Ohio. That's where I was born and raised, married my husband, James. We had 3 children. We moved to Seattle in 1987. And I was fortunate enough to, in 88, join the VA Medical Center here as a dietitian, where I stayed for 30 years. So I was, during that time, very active in my community and in the community of the VA. Back then, I say it's back when work was fun. We had great opportunities to network with people. That was before when I started, we didn't have electronic charts, and so you actually went to the ward and you talked to the patient and you talked to the nurse staff. Well, that has all modified, but still being able to connect with people is something I really love to do, and teach. So teaching was always my favorite part of being a dietitian, teaching in the community. I organized several women's breast cancer awareness programs in the community and work with other health care providers. And I fell in love with Harriet Tubman during the time when I was planning the Black History Month program for the VA. I was on the EEO committee, Equal Employment Opportunity Committee, as the African American program manager. And I saw the movie with Cicely Tyson playing Moses, and one we call
Yes, yeah, Moses, yes.
And she had a parable in there that I wasn't familiar with. I just learned a lot from her, and that made me go research Harriet. And I found out there was so much I didn't know, and I know general public did not know, that she was quite a remarkable woman, more than just the Underground Railroad for sure.
Mhm.
So that got
Definitely.
me started with Harriet. And then that's been over 25 years ago that I have been portraying Harriet as a 92-year-old woman.
Mhm.
That way I can tell her whole life. Most people don't know she lived that long. Lived to be 93. And so from her childhood, her struggles, what she had to overcome, who she became, and the legacy she left for us that continues to grow, is how I see Harriet as a model person to talk about self-love, determination, um, and even your legacy of love.
Right. And how did that all sort of come together for yeah, to form Brown Tone Productions? How did you come? I know you've written several books, and I want you to share one of your books in just a few minutes. But I know that it 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 motivated you to start using the things that she taught and the way she lived her life to help women and girls today to find within themselves to love themselves enough to live a more fulfilled life, a more purposeful life. How did you transform yourself in terms of business to bring her into what you do now?
Well, before I started portraying Harriet, I didn't
Mhm.
have a business, but starting to portray her. So my husband, James, at the time, he passed away last year, but he sang Negro spirituals as part of our program. So it was the Browns, James and Carol Brown's tones, different shades of brown and different
Mhm.
sounds of Brown's productions, where we would go and I portray Harriet and he would sing Negro spirituals as part of the program.
Protection,
I always
okay.
paid her as an it's not a I am a storyteller. I call myself a storyteller, even though I do
Right.
some acting, because each program is different by the way the audience responds. We always took questions from the audience. If I was at a school, I make sure I knew their whoever what their theme was or their mascot, so I could interact with them at the beginning, especially the younger children love that. Get their questions and respond as Harriet. And at the end, I would come out of character and answer other questions about myself in the program. So that was pretty much Brown Tone production. I also have like t-shirts and sweatshirts and items like that. This picture particularly here, my daughter Adia painted, and I
Mhm.
have this on a t-shirt and a nice um, bag, tote bag that says, "I am Harriet Tubman,"
Mhm.
is one of my special lines I have. So yeah, Harriet has developed my continuing wanting to share her stories, but not just tell the story and walk away. I wanted to leave an impact. That's why I
Mhm.
developed curriculums that are teaching many, many concepts from her life that people may not realize
Mhm.
can learn from her story.
Sorry. For the women in the group, can you share a couple of those concepts that um, they may not know about her and can take away and start their own researching on who Harriet was? Go ahead.
I actually have a program that I love to tell you about
Okay.
that women might be interested. But this is the current book, The Harriet Tubman Way, Inspirational Guide to Self-Love, Empowerment, and Legendary Leadership for Girls. My daughter also painted this picture.
She's very
And
talented.
yes, unfortunately, she passed away last February. So these pictures are very meaningful to me to be able to use her work as part of the legacy that she discovered that she had a talent. So Harriet Tubman, I opened up this book with quote myself I like to share from Lisa Nichols, and share who she is if people don't know. But part one is love in actions with an S, because I want you to express your love in many different forms of actions. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be joyful. You deserve to be celebrated. But in order to do that, you must first fall madly in love with yourself. That's Lisa Nichols.
Yes.
And so in the table of content, so that's the opening. Love yourself first is the first chapter, which a quote, each chapter is open with a quote as well.
Okay.
That one's Queen Latifah. I'm not going to read all of them, but each quote in this book is from an African-American woman, and most of them may know it. And this book is written as a curriculum. And so I have a program called Harriet Tubman 3LC, which is Love, Leadership, and Legacy Coach, where I have coaches that I train to teach the curriculum. And so what they're going to be teaching is love yourself first, survive and make changes. And when you think about Harriet, what she went through as a child, that she was abusive, been abused, but she made changes in her life. Accept the person that you are. Practice forgiveness. She had to forgive those people who
right.
her that way, or she wouldn't have been able to clear her mind and be totally free. Imagine your freedom. Tell a story of how Harriet had to picture herself free for many years before it actually happened.
Right.
Demand respect, which I think is very important for our girls to know. So that's part one. That's just some of them. Part two is self-empowerment. As dedicate your life to your passion. Harriet was all about helping people and saving people, and she kept that on her mind all her time that she was helping people. Listen and learn. Harriet never learned to read and write. But Harriet, when she was free up north, Frederick Douglass introduced her to John Brown. John Brown took her to meetings with bankers and lawyers and writers and all kinds of businessmen who were abolitionists. And she listened and she learned the vocabulary. She learned the politics, and they learned from her.
Right.
They never been to the South, but they learned from Harriet what was really like. So it was a two-way conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Couple
very
more.
unique. Yes.
Keep your faith. Keep the sense of humor. Keep on going. Say thank you. The power of networking. The power that's with all the Underground Railroad.
Underground, right. That was a network to help.
Make your money work for you. Harriet had to work and save up her money so that she could go back. Right. And there's one story that I tell is her father was in jeopardy of being put in jail for helping some slave run away. She was in New York and she heard about it, and she knew she had to get back there quickly. So usually she would work all summer and save every penny, and then in the winter go on her trips back on the Underground Railroad. But this one, she needed money right away. So Harry, with her determination and her belief that if she needed it, it's going to happen, God's going to supply it. She went to an office where she know that they support her on the Underground Railroad and other people who had run away from slavery. And she said, I need $20. They said, well, I'm sorry, we don't have $20. Harry said, no, I'm gonna sit right here in this office. I'm gonna go and I'm not leaving till I have my $20. So I tell that story, and at the end, she sat there all day. She fell asleep. She woke up, and she left with $60. So that's Harriet. That's Harriet.
And that's determination. And
yes,
like, I'm not leaving until. And as women, who I've met so many women in doing what I do. And there are so many of us in our 50 somethings that do have a problem with our own self-love. We've forgotten how to love ourselves. We've lost track of who we are, our importance, the purpose in our life, the things that God has blessed us to be, and we've forgotten about all of that. And a
Yes.
lot of that has to do with society has done to a lot of women once they've gone through. Um, in your meeting with women who I'm sure you meet a lot of women on your journey. Can you tell us what some of the experiences have been once someone has gone through one of your trainings?
Okay. Just before I do that, though, let me share a little bit more about my story because, as
Okay.
you quite often we forget about what self-love is. This book uh, came about after I experienced a time when I wasn't practicing the self-love that I needed to practice myself. So um, I mentioned my husband James and I moved back to Ohio in 2015. Plan on retiring there. I did retire there, but so we've been married for 46 years at the time, and all of a sudden, I think some dementia or something was setting in. He became abusive. And so for 6 years, I was living in that situation, not sharing that what was going on with anybody. And finally, it got so uncomfortable. It has some time to get that uncomfortable for you really to decide it's time to make a change. And so I was able to finally do that in 22, about 6 years later. And
Uh-huh.
only then could I write this book about self-love because I share, actually, I did my TED Talk. I did a TED Talk
Right.
this Saturday, and I shared that story of self-love and the transformation that can happen when you decide to love yourself. Because being living in a situation where you're not, when you're letting someone abuse you is not self-love, you know.
No, it's not.
It's not. With self-love, you know you're worthy of being loved. You're worthy of being treated kindly and respectfully, not by just others, but also from by yourself. That's self-love. Being able to be yourself and comfortable and have joy.
Mm-hmm.
That's self-love. And if you find yourself in a situation where the joy is gone, you feel your spirit is slipping away, that's not self-love. And that's when you really have to make the decision that you are worthy of living a joyful, free life
Mm-hmm.
and to make some changes at that time. And so my book helps, and it's designed, I said, for girls, all girls. But my goal, my vision is the population that we're talking to now, the ladies
Right.
over 50, grandmothers,
Yes.
some of them may not be there yet, are reaching back and teaching what we have as far as our wisdom and our experiences to our girls to spare them from going through some of these things. So the title of my speech was a prisoner of unhealthy love, where I share that, and I can't do the speech. So as soon as it comes out, and you'll
Right.
have a link to watch the
Yes.
speech. But one of the rules about a TED Talk is that you can only share it through their website, and then it was
Right.
just Saturday, so it'll be out soon, and I'll make sure you and your listeners get a link.
That
Um,
I would appreciate that. And ladies, this lets you know that when you are living your life purposefully and you have decided that you're going to go all in. Karol just completed a TED Talk, which if you're a coach, if you're in this community, you know the value of being able to do that. And she did that on the 8th, right?
yes,
Yes, and when she releases that, I'll make sure that we post it in the network, the Women's Network, and get it out to you through the email system. But that lets you know that when you do learn to love yourself and not limit yourself, which you can do it. And this is why I do this podcast to share stories like that. Here she is in her 70s doing a TED Talk
yes,
and I love it. I I appreciate where you're coming from in terms of using your experience to help others.
Right.
Because that, go ahead.
Yes, yes, yes. As I mentioned, I quoted Lisa Nichols. And one reason, after I was out of that situation and um, able to find myself again, I started investing in myself. And one thing I did was to join Lisa Nichols in one of her courses, the Certified Transformational Training course, which I completed last year. Last year was a tough year, but I did like Harriet tell you to just keep
Yes,
on going,
yeah.
keep on going. I mentioned I lost my daughter, Adia. She was 48 to cancer in February.
Our condolences to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My ex-husband, we divorce was filed in March. He died in June. And my 101 plus year old mother died in October. And all while this was going on, I was completing this class with Lisa. Fortunately, graduated and am now a certified transformational trainer. But that opened up a lot to learn more about how to help people transform their lives. The networking opportunities with the women that's on her campus, men too, but mostly women, have been very valuable. Working for, so right now I'm working on, similar to your podcast, but it's going to be for girls ages 10 to 14. That's going to be challenging.
I have an 11-year-old granddaughter.
Okay,
So,
great, great. Because I know the only way to get the girls there are through their grandmothers. Because you see the value of them being exposed to a community. And I'm gonna call myself Auntie Carol on my show. It hasn't started yet. Auntie Carol, to be able to discuss things that are coming up, like in my book, in um, public, social media, whatever,
right.
things that are challenging them in their lives. And for us older women to share our wisdom, let them know they're worthy. They can get through this. Yes, I remember my first boyfriend, my first breakup. You'll get through it. We know how to bring them through what we came through because our grandparents, our mothers did that.
Right.
And sure, when I
Exactly.
realized at 71, my mother was the last of her generation, it's up to us.
It is. It's so true.
Right. We're
And
the
and
village
and when
leaders now. We're
you,
the village leaders. If we don't connect with our babies, who is?
right.
AI is not.
And the more TikTok, the more they are exposed to bullying and all the things that they go through. We can't sit back and just say, we got through it, they will too. It's a different world, it's a
It's a
different
different.
influence.
That's
Um,
so
yeah, I want you to share your book with Lisa Nichols. Those of you, if you're not familiar with Lisa Nichols, she is actually one of my heroes. And Carol was able to, you'll tell us about the book in just a second. But
yes.
I started learning about Lisa Nichols probably 10, 15 years ago. And her story is so dynamic. If you do not know who Lisa Nichols is, look her up. Look at her early stories, how she, single mom, living in California, and I believe she lived in Compton or somewhere, and she was barely making it. And she has risen to be a powerful, powerful woman, influencing women like Carol and
Yes.
myself, and just knowing of her. One of the most prized pictures I have is one I took with Lisa Nichols. So tell us about the book, Carol.
Okay. So Lisa, as Cheryl was saying, is quite a remarkable woman, and her vision is to motivate the masses. And she motivates us as far as those of us who are speakers and want to be as dynamic as she is, she's sharing her techniques. This book is a compilation of authors who are sharing our stories of when we had to find our inner courage. She says, rise up, ignite your inner fire with stories of courage and commitment. So I share about my situation with my husband and how Harriet was a big part of bringing me through that. And there are other stories like that. So Lisa has been a big part of my transformation as well as so many others. Like I said, I was going through um, my challenges while I was going through her program, and
Right.
the support from all of her and all the other women was so very much appreciated and felt. And we're still well connected. With my TED Talk, it was 4 of us from our cohort that
Mhm.
took part in the TED Talk program. And so we coached each other through there to get to that. And several of my cohorts have been on programs that I've sponsored for girls. I did a girls every October. I do October 11th is the International Day of the Girl Child. And every October was the last 2 when I started. I do a program featuring girls and speeches. And so
Mhm.
a couple of my cohorts were there to talk. Um, we just did a program for Harriet Tubman Day in March. That's another annual program. And in that program, my coaches, my Harriet Tubman Love, Leadership, and Legacy coaches, which are women who spent time with me to learn the curriculum,
Mhm.
they showed what they can do with the program. Each one took a chapter and presented it. And it was beautiful, Cheryl. Everyone's was different. Everyone's there in their own
Mhm.
character, their own way of teaching. And so that's what I'm now opening up to more people. I'm recruiting now for others to join that and
And become a coach in your program.
become a coach. Yeah, because and from my website, there are links to my YouTube where you can see some of those
Okay.
presentations from the women. I'm excited. I think I'm going to be we're all in different areas. So one in Mississippi,
Mhm.
Philly, New Jersey. I'm in Washington and somebody in California. We're all doing it a little bit differently, but we're all teaching the same concepts
Oh,
from
good.
Harriet. Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to share that information to the community and those, if any of you want to talk with Carol, can they connect with you to get more information or just go on your
Okay.
website? Is there a form for them to fill out or something?
Yes, yes, definitely. On my website, which is KAROLV for Vanessa Brown.com. They will be able to have information there that they can find out about a special event, since this is being shared in time enough for me to mention on the 30th of this month. I think that's the last Wednesday. Let me get my calendar in front of me. No, the 26th of this.
Okay.
Um, I'm having a Zoom call, which will also be live on Instagram.
Okay.
And sure, this came from my group of women. We still meet, even though they're finished with their curriculum. We meet once a month and talk about it. And we got to talk about, someone mentioned a prom dress that they thought was a little inappropriate for the teen. And to mention something, oh, you're just judging us, you're just judgment. That's oh, grandma eyes looking at it. And we start thinking about, how do we really reach these young ladies with our wisdom without them feeling like we're judging? We just want
Right.
to share our thoughts and wisdom. So we're going to have a discussion about that, and it's going to be open, like I said, live on Instagram and Facebook and on Zoom if someone wants to be
Okay.
on. It's free, but get into the discussion and bring the girls. That's the problem. On my great webinars is we're not getting the girls there. We need to bring the girls in so that they can get the messaging that us wise, worthy women, as NDRE says, can talk to the younger girls and help them see the way,
Right.
which
Okay.
way that will get them to be their beautiful, queenly selves and not have the struggle of not knowing what it feels like to love yourself and be respected and have achievements of their dreams.
Right. Right. Well, we'll definitely share that when we're offline. I'll get all those links from you, and then we'll post them in the comments
Great.
when we run the podcast. Um, definitely want to share that information. Um, I am so impressed with what you're doing and how you're impacting not just women but girls. If there's a woman out there who right now is just feeling as if they just haven't been able to find within themselves to love themselves, what are some little things that you can share with them, some tips or just some little knowledge that you can give them that just they'll come away from this with maybe one or two things that they can start practicing that may just change how they feel about themselves.
Yes. Well, first of all, we do need to take a little time to ourselves and actually ask yourself the questions. Am I living in joy? Am I happy? Is this the way I want to live the rest of my life?
Mhm.
And if your answer is no, then you need to just be thinking about what will make me happy and not be afraid to dream big, not be afraid to visualize the wildest thing that you can think of because you can have it all.
Thank
You're
you.
worthy of it.
Yeah.
So I first say seek joy. All of us were born to have joy in our life. And that's the first thing. So that joy is an indication that you're living in a happiness and you're
Right,
living self-love. If you're having things that are the people or things you need to forgive, that's important. Learn to forgive. And that is one of my chapters in the book.
right,
You can't move forward until you forgive. And not just the person or people that you feel have harmed you. You got to forgive yourself. We can't be judging ourselves. In our meetings, which I learned from Lisa, all my meetings with the girls and women starts with being in a safe space. And safe space is first that you are not being judged in that space. Um, Unconditional love,
right.
yes, and no repercussions. And we need to feel that for ourselves. So
So
that's
true.
what I would say. We need to feel that for ourselves. Um, there is nothing that we've done that we should hold against ourselves from keeping from living our joy.
Yeah. That's such a powerful message for us to leave with. Um, I know for me, that's what gets me through life, finding the joy in life, finding something to be happy about, and knowing that no one is here to make me happy. I have
Yes,
to have happiness within, and then it comes to you because
yes.
you're seeking it. And I really appreciate you sharing with us today. Ladies, I want you to go out and go to her website, Carol V. Brown, KarolV Brown.com. We're going to share information about her program with you. We're going to share the links to her books, and I encourage you to connect with her. And also, if you have an organization where you can have Carol come out and do her Harriet Tubman portrayals, I'm going to actually talk to our youth director at our church and tell her about what you do.
Great.
And if you have that and you can connect with her to see how she can share this information with our young girls. It's important. And Carol, I thank you so much for joining us on today. Do you have any parting words for us as we close out the podcast?
Well, people might be curious of what this box is over here.
Uh,
This is my Harriet Tubman Love in Action box. It's a
uh,
gift box. And so my concept and my program is to teach the girls that they are a gift box, that they are a gift box. And so when you open the gift box, the first thing you see is, I love you.
oh,
Write your name in here and say that every time you open the box. You love yourself. The books come in there, a flower to remind you, buy flowers for yourself if you love them, affirmation scarf. And it's more information about it on my website and in my store. The books are in there, a gratitude journal. My book, like I said, is a curriculum, so it has a workbook for journaling and a gratitude journal that we teach to count your blessings. Um, Hand cream for Dove for self-care. And Dove has some excellent videos on empowerment for girls.
yes, they do. Deb is amazing. Go ahead.
A nice
Oh,
little mirror, again, to look
mm,
at your beautiful face. And last but not least, so not last, two more things. A little quartz for self-love, a rose
mm,
quartz. And I think the most significant thing for the girls to realize is that this is a pack of seeds. And it
mm,
represents
okay.
that you are already everything you want to be. We're just here to help you get nourished and supported.
Mhm.
So these seeds are the flowers that they were meant to be. And so that's what we're here for, to help our young ladies
Really.
find their beauty that is already with.
Mm. And do you have to go through your program to get one of those, or you can just
You
order
can
it
purchase
online?
them in my store, but the one
Okay,
thing when I do workshops, I want to make sure that everyone who's an attendant goes home with a gift
with the
box.
gift box. Wow, that is absolutely amazing. Carol, you shared so much with us, and I am just overjoyed to have this opportunity to get to know more about you and share with our audience. And ladies, uh, just remember that you when you're living, thinking about living your best life, and today thinking about living it with joy and caring for yourself, don't think about doing that 3 years from now or tomorrow. Think that you are worth doing it today. Start today. And Carol, thank you so much for joining us
Me
today
too.
on
I
Coffee with Chef.
really appreciate it and very enjoyed sharing my story with you and your audience. I'm
Uh,
going to join up myself. I'll be on their site now. I know
oh,
about you.
good. Oh, good, good, good. I will make sure you get the Women's Network site, and we're just delighted that you joined us today. Ladies, go out and make this a wonderful, wonderful Monday.